My name is Ben Onstott. I am the son of Steve and Julie Onstott, now Julie Murphy. As you all know, my mom remarried to Keith Murphy. He is a great guy. My dad, though, was the greatest man ever. My mom is the greatest mom ever, too. She is smart, knows how to be a mom. Not really athletic, though. I don't know what I would do without my mom. Now let's get to my sisters. Amanda, the oldest, is a mommy now. She gave birth to my beautiful niece. Brett is 19 and is very smart, just like Amanda and Dad. If my sisters weren't there beside me through all the hard times that I have had, I probably wouldn't be here today. But there is one person who put the biggest encouragement on me, and that is Caleb Payne, my sister Amanda's husband. One thing I know best about Caleb is that he is going to be a great dad, just like the one I used to have. That was the letter that I knew that he was thinking about taking his life, but it still did not connect and ring true to me even when I read it though the first time. I just thought it was a beautiful letter. Well, I grew up with a very large family. My mother and dad, my father had 13 children. There was 5 boys and 8 girls, and we lived out in Browns Valley, out in Utica, and we went to St. Anthony's Church. I married very young. I was 20 years old, and my husband, Steve Onstott, my first husband that passed away, he was 8 years older than me. We had 3 children together. We were married for 19 and a half years, and he suffered a very serious lung disease and was very, very sick for about 18 months. And his lung disease was called BOOP. There is a cure for BOOP, steroids, but Steve was steroid refractory. The medicine did not work. It was very hard because Steve died at home with hospice, and Ben was laying up on the bed with his dad and holding him, and it was really hard on him because, they were saying their goodbyes. We had time to say goodbye. We got to see him receive viaticum when he died, administered the sacraments that are so important. Steve died on April 16th, 2005, and we moved into town in 2006. Ben was a fun, loving, happy-go-lucky boy. He just played all the time. When we moved to town, he was very excited. He could not wait. He was thinking neighbors. He was thinking friends. He can just walk over to their house. And then he found out that the street that I lived on were mainly senior citizens. And anyway, he joked about that quite a bit. And Ben, he went to Owensboro Catholic Middle School and seemed to have made friends. There's a very special friend, Jake Lynn, somebody he clicked with right away, and the Lynn family. Michelle and Pete Lynn. Pete Lynn was like a second father. And Ben was really craving that. I was dating. I had met a wonderful man named Keith Murphy, and he was very good to Ben. He had 2 older daughters, and Holly and Courtney. And anyway, that dating, I feel when I look back on my memory now, that the courting and stuff was, I just feel like some of that time I wish I had spent more with Ben. Ben was going through a lot of depression, some anxiety with a new school, and making friends. Ben was ADHD diagnosed when he was in the 1st grade. Very impulsive. A lot of energy. But I started to notice a change in Ben, in his personality. He was very sad, angry, aggressive, and just wasn't the same little boy. I just knew, because I was having such a very difficult time getting him to go to school. We would go round and round, grounding, punishments, and it was something that as a parent you have to do. You have to in place that and implement how important it is. Talked about his future a lot and to him, and he was just, a typical teenager. Just so many traumatic things that happened to him was like 1, 2, 3, constant. I was seeking counseling for Ben, and I needed help. I didn't have Steve because of his grief, the depression he was battling that I did not realize. I knew he was battling depression, but I did not know the severity of the darkness he was feeling. I would take him to a psychiatrist, and they would switch his medicine up, because he was ADHD. Some medicines weren't working. We would do that, and then the first time he was ever on an antidepressant, it was Zoloft, and there's a black warning, black box warning for that for teenagers, and my son was on that for not even a month. My husband and I just got back from Gatlinburg, Tennessee, celebrating 1 year anniversary. And we picked Ben up before we even got home. We picked him up at school. And at the time, I was upset with Ben because he knew before we left that he was, I said, we'll handle this. He got into trouble. I said, we'll handle this when we get home. That night, we got home. He sat down in the living room with Keith and I, and we had a long discussion with him. And I know I wasn't smiling. I was being very serious with Ben. And it haunts me this day, and it will forever, when he says, "You hate me." And I said, "I do not hate you." He says, "Yes, you do. I can tell by the look on your face." I do not hate my son. We had supper. Things got a little more calmed down. And I said, I need to go to Michelle and Pete Lynn's house. Ben stayed with them while we were at Gatlinburg for just a few days. And I need to go to their home and pick up Ben's things and give them a gift of my appreciation for them watching Ben. And Keith was home by himself with Ben. And he said he heard some tumbling and, Ben going upstairs, downstairs, back and forth. And I was parked in the driveway, but Keith had told me that he heard a loud boom, he said it was very loud. Keith comes running outside, and he had just called the police, I believe, an ambulance. And he said, he met me coming outside, and he said, he didn't want me to come in. And he said, I don't want, don't come in. He said, Ben hurt himself. You don't tell a mother you can't go to your child. And I ran down the stairs, and he was laying flat on his bed with his eyes open. And at first I was in shock. I just stared. I was just like, what did he do? And I even said to myself, I don't know why to this day he's in peace now. That did not last long. And I went to Ben I picked his head up. I was holding him. I was kissing his face. I was kissing his lips. I was holding him so tight. And he was very cold. And I told Keith, I need his blanket. He's cold. And I cradled Ben. I kept telling him how much I loved him. I love you. I love you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Ben shot himself with his shotgun in his chest. A huge hole in his chest. I was covered in blood on my pants and in a state of shock. But I just was holding my son like the Blessed Mother was holding Jesus. A lot of family members have already showed up, and I wanted to leave. And they were going, you can't leave. I said, I want to go to the Carmel home. I got to go right now. And no, you can't leave. And I was wanting to go and beg God to give him back to me. And that's all I kept saying was, I got to go. I need the Eucharist. I need to see Jesus. I need to see Jesus. Father Pat had a Pix, and I wanted that so bad. And when he ran to go get it, and he brought it in for me, he said, Julie, look, here. He said, hold it. It's Jesus. He put it in my hand. And I was just holding on to it. And I was just, please God, you know. All I could think about was that he's, you know, Lazarus and other people, you know. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was wanting a miracle. And I was in such a state of shock that I still knew what I wanted, and I wanted to be with Jesus. Pretty much after Ben died, that has been my source of strength. Mass and the sacrament of confession has been my lifeline. Because at confession, after a suicide, you deal with such regret. What did I do wrong? I caused this. He told me that very day, that night, that I hated him. And I was being a mother, but every time I would go to confession, I would relay every time how sorry I was that I failed my son. And through the sacrament of confession, and Jesus was talking to the priest, through the priest, and speaking to my heart, and was telling me that Ben loves me and forgives me, that God forgives me. That would last a month, or not even a month, and then I would be questioning myself again. Even today, even though it's going to be 7 years this year, I still, every day, say, Ben, I'm sorry. Some people say things that really hurt, saying that my son wasn't going to go to heaven because he took his life. But you know, I don't believe that. I know that God is so merciful and so compassionate, and only He knew Ben's young heart and what he was going through. My mission, more than anything, is for, if someone is dealing with these dark moments of despair, to talk, to say, just come right out and say, Mom, Dad, to a sister, brother, uncle. There's been times I've thought about taking my life. Immediately, I believe, if Ben were to tell me that, I would have done a different direction. I would have said, okay, let's go find another doctor. Are you not happy with this therapist? Let's do this. more spiritual direction. But I just didn't know that it would. I knew he was having problems, but I didn't know he'd take his life. Unfortunately, the day he died, I don't have a lot of pleasant memories because it was me being a parent, me correcting my child, disciplining him. That's why I'll never be the same person again because, of the way it happened. Or, so opposite from when Steve died. From a very peaceful and very holy death to the way that my child died, from taking his life. And just an hour before taking his life, him saying that he felt that I didn't love him. And that is so far from the truth. As a parent, I would just be bold. As a parent, be bold and say to your daughter or your son, have you ever contemplated that thought of taking your life? And if they say yes, well, we're going to help you, and just take go to a professional, get those steps that you need implemented to help, because it's very serious.